Gosh, I thought with your gifts and talents, you would have solved the case by now. Yikes. Well, it's only minutes until someone leaks this to the press. You must realize that Jack out of the box is in the room witnessing all of this. You are all about to be in a paparazzi firestorm if we do not figure this out. And Jack, whoever you are, will need to view the footage from your hidden cameras. You're gonna have to fess up or we'll tear the club apart and find them. Stop playing games. The crime lab has completed the analysis and we're sending the report over to you. Until then, why don't you go over the facts in the case? Once the party began, where was everyone? You all must come clean with the hard facts. Oh, I did find out that Alcott was poisoned 3 minutes before he collapsed. So it was the beverage he consumed in the war room as the party began. We still don't know what poison he ingested, but that analysis should be completed soon. Also, the murderer stabbed Vincent in the study. Again, you're all minutes away from being murder suspects in a never-ending news cycle. Jack, whoever you are, please do not post anything and blow up this case. I'll be back as soon as I hear anything.
I hate that I'm having to defend myself like a lowly murderer on trial wearing an orange tacky jumpsuit, but here it goes. When I arrived on time for this gathering, I went to the war room. I said hello to Alcott and Vincent, who were both in the room at that time. I didn't get close to Alcott, but I shook Vincent's hand as he extended a hand to me. What can I say? I noticed a few of you entering from other rooms of the club. Suppose you had arrived early, which is embarrassing, by the way. I popped to the kitchen to say hello to my friend, the chef. She was leaving for the day. The dining hall because I thought I heard voices and wanted to see who was there. Whoever there had just exited the room and went to the conservatory, as I saw the door swing ever so slightly before it came to a rest. Then I heard someone scream, and I rushed back to the room to face 2 dead bodies.
I don't recall going to the bar after I entered the war room, so I don't know how I'd put anything in Alcott's drink. I was far too busy catching up with everyone here. But let's not forget who had everything to gain by murdering Alcott. That's Sylvan Radcliffe. If Sylvan got rid of Alcott, the hostile takeover attempt of Radcliffe Academy, Sports and Outdoors would likely be defused, as Alcott's son is far less manipulative. As far as Vincent is concerned, I've already told you it didn't have anything to do with that. We had a nice chat earlier about black bears going after joggers lately. We both seen many posts on social media after that. On another note, I did see Sylvan and Avery having a heated conversation in the war room about a minute or two after the party started. I wonder what they were talking about. Should they confess and spill the beans on what's going on?
Let me say something. So, if anyone thinks that had to do with either murder, you have too much drama in your life. I may have approached the bar in the war room, but if so, it was only to get some water or something. Big whoop. But when Vincent stumbled into the room and fell to his death, I rushed over beside Avery Chadwick, who was checking on him. So Avery rolled him over and removed the knife from his chest. Avery handed the knife to me, and I put it on the table beside where he died. I think someone else moved it out of the way, so there were probably many more fingerprints on it. We all just panicked when this happened. It's not like we've ever had this happen in front of us before. I suppose that's what the detective was speaking about when she said we contaminated the crime scene, but we were only trying to help.
As for me, right after the party started, I went to the kitchen to cut some orange slices because they never put them out at the bar. But then right after that, I went straight to Dillard Hall to try and avoid Alcott and Vincent. But it wasn't long before I heard a commotion coming from the war room, and that's when I rushed to join everyone. So there were 2 clusters of people surrounding the 2 dead bodies. It was utter chaos. I can't recall who was standing around which body, but I do remember seeing Sylvan holding the knife while kneeling down beside Vincent. Someone said that Sylvan had pulled it out of his chest while trying to help him. I think you're supposed to let the medics handle that, but I can understand that you were panicking, so it's fine. But I do remember something that could be helpful to the case. Blake Pembroke was speaking to a friend in the study of the club about a week or so ago. Blake was fuming about some article that was trending on social media about how outdated Pembroke fashion was. The person interviewed in the article that gave those quotes was Alcott Cavendish. So I'm just saying, could Alcott's murder have been a revenge killing by Blake?
If they are testing that knife for prints, there will be no reason for if my prints are found on it. I'll ask for a retest if they do find any connection to me. Upon arrival at this party, I came through the foyer, as we all did. Then I walked through the study and directly into the war room as people were jamming up the war room's doorway. And I wanted to beat them to the bar. Sorry I was thirsty. Alcott was already making a drink at the bar when the doors opened for the party to begin. Alcott didn't want the bartenders to service this party, so he made the bar self-serve, which I do not prefer. It's like a tacky college frat party, if you ask me. Blake and Ben had a quick chat not too far from the bar as I made myself a drink. It was just out of earshot, so I don't know what they were saying. It all seemed suspicious to me. Alcott left the bar with his milky drink in hand and approached a cluster of people chatting about something in the center of the room.
Hola, I'm ready for this thing to be over because I've had to use the urination station since we started. But anyway, I don't have much more to add to this whole investigation. I saw what you all saw. I suppose for Alcott's murder, it'll be essential to know what type of poison was in his system. Until then, we don't have much more to go on, as anyone in the war room could have slipped poison into his drink. As far as Vincent, I remember a conversation I had with Ben Dormer last week. All of the federal regulations that spawned out of the ocean oil spills from Vincent's oil company caused Vin's company some big problems and were quite costly. Maybe Vin should be looked at with a fine-tooth comb. Sorry, that was something my gramps used to say.
Right after the party started, I spoke to Alcott Cavendish. A couple of folks just spoken to him and walked away, but I cannot remember who they were. I was trying to figure out why he had invited this group together in such an intimate setting. He had a drink in his hand, the usual apple cider and milk over ice, which I always thought was peculiar. Strange snake. As we were chatting, his skin flushed pink, and he complained of a headache, and walked away without saying another word. He thought he might have a flu or something else contagious and left. Sorry if I wasn't compassionate, but he wasn't exactly someone I cared about. I never left the war room, and I never went behind the bar. I don't think I'm a viable suspect, so cross me off your list.
Unless I'm magic, I didn't do any of this. I arrived at the party, walked into the war room, spoke to Vincent for a millisecond, spoke to Alcott for half a millisecond, and then walked to the bar to get a drink. Then, I noticed Blake Pembroke exit the room. For the life of me, I can't remember which room Blake went into, but I know for certain that Blake wasn't in the room later when Vincent was stabbed. Also, the knife that Avery removed from Vincent's chest looked like the one of the club's knives. They are so unique. So that means whoever killed Vincent went into the club's kitchen at some point. You all were all over that crime scene. I can see why the detective was frustrated with all of you. And the last thing I have to add is that Danny Robux looks incredibly happy right now. A little bit too happy to be sitting amongst the midst of a murder investigation.
I will place a bet with anyone that there will be no evidence against me in either case. Although, whoever poisoned Alcott could have walked by with an eyedropper from a vial and dropped it like poison in his drink. In my opinion, the poisoning will probably be almost impossible to solve, so the case should just be dropped. Most people didn't care for him, so, no love lost there. As far as Vincent, that's a totally different story. I think we can solve that crime. I saw him speaking with Ven right before he exited the room. God, it's such a shame. I looked the other direction, because now I wonder if Ven followed him into the study. Ven's family is in the oil business, and Vincent recently became the chairman of the board of directors for the biggest competition, Salvazon Oil. After making a few horrendous, terrible, I was trained in oil decisions, he recently launched chaos for the oil industry, causing the feds to pass more regulations. That's a pretty good motive to murder for me.
So I've been trying to figure this out, and I don't know that the Sabres have pulled off both crimes, but I could be wrong. Let's talk about time frames though. If Alka died within 3 or so minutes after making himself a drink, and Winston died simultaneously, Gilla would have had to slip the poison into Alka's drink, and then within a couple minutes, figure out how to stab Vincent. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but that would need to be so streamlined. Anyone who never left the room should be ruled out of Vincent's murder. But as far as Alka's murder goes, it's going to be tough to figure out that one. As essentially anyone could have slipped the poison in the drink when he wasn't looking. Nobody here obviously saw it happen, so we're gonna have trouble solving this case. I'll just admit before someone says they saw me. I left the war room around the time that Vincent died. I went out to my limousine to read my mobile phone. When I returned, everyone was huddled on the bodies in the wardroom and a bloody knife was on the table. I'm assuming that was a murder weapon, but who would remove a knife from a victim anyway? I'm not paramedic, but that's probably not what you're supposed to do.
If my fingerprints end up on anything scandalous with either murder case, I'll have no reason for it. I mean, I might be in big trouble if that report comes back with anything linking me. With that said, I walked through the foyer and into the war room. I didn't leave the war room after that. Vincent wasn't in the war room when he was stabbed in the chest, so I couldn't have physically murdered him. As for Alcott, if he were poisoned, either the poison came from one of the club's murdery displays, or they could easily review the body scans for the members who entered the club this evening. Whoever has a vial is the killer, but I'm sure the killer has destroyed it by now, so forget that. Have we considered that Danny Roebucks was a disgruntled employee? I mean, we've all seen how Alcott and Vincent treated Danny every day. If it were me, I'd want to murder them for treating me that way. My money is on the one who obviously doesn't fit in here, and that's Danny.
Oi, I don't really have much else to say. I've admitted I have a motive to murder both of these fiends, but I didn't have the pleasure. If you want me to throw a fellow club member under the bus, I won't do it. So we can sit here and look at each other until the NYPD gives up and just calls it an unsolved mystery. Let's destroy any evidence we can find and prevent anybody from going to jail for getting rid of 2 evil men. What do you say about that? The remaining owner of the club, Xavier Waldorf, is actually a decent guy. I think he'll listen to us and change the decor in here and make it more of a proper establishment for the elite, not a historical war museum. I think we all win here. On the other hand, I am dying to know who Jack out of the box is, as they once wrote an article about me that had a bunch of lies in it. We need to talk, buddy.
All right. I didn't want to share these things before, but after Florian and Carmen's delightful comments about me, I feel kind of pressured to do so. So, first of all, I heard someone in the conservatory while I was in the billiard hall, but whoever was in there returned to the war room before me because I was the last one to join the group around the 2 dead bodies. I was not in the war room. And I was concerned that Alcott might have hurt Jack in the Box once he figured out who they were. So I'm not happy about how things are going, but I am a little bit relieved because I honestly like Jack, whoever they are, and I'm happy that they're fine. And I am 100% sure that the murder weapon that killed Vincent came from the kitchen of the Wharton house. Like Florian mentioned, the cutlery is so unique at the Wharton house. You know, we're really proud of it. It's been imported from Italy in the 70s, so I could recognize it from everywhere, and it's definitely from our club.
Listen, I didn't really want to bring this up, but it may not be that relevant. But, you know, both victims had a unique tattoo on their arm, a winding snake on the forearm with a dagger in its mouth. You didn't see their tattoos before. I didn't see their tattoos, but I did get a glimpse of them as the medics dealt with their bodies. It's the sign of the dark cloud. I think it's an exclusive group of extraordinary rich serial killers. In my opinion, whoever did these murders is justified to save society from the two killers.
Well, I have something that I would like to say. I do remember that while I was entering the kitchen from the war room, someone was exiting the kitchen to the study. I'm really mad at myself for not remembering who that person was, but someone else at the party had been in the kitchen. Oh, and by the way, none of the kitchen staff reported seeing anyone with a knife. They were all busy. Also, after Vincent was dead and someone placed the murder weapon vicariously on the edge of the table in the war room, I moved it so that it wouldn't fall on the floor or stick anyone. I think I remember seeing someone else move it as well.
Speaking of people entering the kitchen, Blake, I saw you enter the kitchen. I don't know how long you were in there, but as I walked from the conservatory to the library later, I saw you in the war room. And at the beginning of the party, after the staff opened the doors to the war room and, kicked off the party, I did see Avery walk into the study as I was walking toward the conservatory.
Moving on from that, I actually also saw Avery walk out of the study not too long after the party started. I was actually talking about with Vincent and then I was trying to get Vincent to relax the club's pet rules, but that's irrelevant. I also saw Sylvan in the war room during our conversation as well.
Okay, well, so if anyone, was wondering what me and someone was talking about, she was just making sure that I wasn't gonna sell any more of my shares of the Radcliffe Academy Sports and Outdoors to anyone right now for any reason. But I already agreed to it, but she was just making sure, so that's what we were talking about. Vincent was collapsing. It's kind of near the foyer. And the guests who already arrived early are the ones who could have had access to the poison, as he was poisoned almost immediately as the party began. But if someone entered a room that had poison, it should be considered a valuable clue. So as far as Vincent's murder, I wasn't there when it exactly happened, but
Okay, I would like to say something. Okay, it kind of sounds mighty suspicious. So as Murphy explained, I'm sure I saw that you were walking out of the study, and then you had a conversation with Sylvan in the war room, and then you walked towards the dining hall, and then you turned to speak to Vincent, and I turned to speak to Vincent and somebody else around that time. I forgot. I'm sorry. And I know this might sound crazy, but I noticed that Vincent had a red shirt on when he was stabbed, so maybe Blake had a psychotic break and stabbed him because of the color of his shirt? Never mind, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, okay, how about you go back to the kindergarten recess yard that you escaped from? Why would I stab someone just because they're wearing a red shirt? We already went over how I hate the color red, okay? I would want to stay away from all instances of red.
While we're on the subject,
Stay away from it than from murder.
While we're on the subject of Blake's suspicion, I was certain that Blake was not in the war room with the others when Vincent was stabbed. Also, I was sure that Avery walked out of the study not too long after the party started. Then, after Avery had a conversation with Sylvan in the war room, Avery walked towards the dining room. Finally, the Cavendish and Dormer families have been feuding for decades. They have swindled money from each other, sued each other, all of the like. It wouldn't surprise me if Ven had something to do with Alcott's death.
Look, Blake was in the northern part of the club, but not in the war room when Vincent was stabbed. I saw her. Look, I don't remember which room she was in exactly, But she returned to the war room from that direction when I looked over my shoulder when the bodies were discovered. Blake was coming my way. And whoever poisoned Alcott had to have a conversation with him to place the poison in the drink, right? Unless the actual ingredients themselves are poisoned. Then it was someone who was at the bar as soon as the party began. I mean, I just hope the crime lab has more info. This is a really good story.
So, hold up. So, we were just talking about how Ven has beef with Alcott, yeah? But I also saw Ven talking with Vincent at the beginning of the party about bears. Who talks about bears? No one. It could be code. What if Vincent and Alcott were like plotting against each other and had an inside man at the party? Or 2, or 5? Just an idea.
Hey, bears are terrifying. We were talking about how they were attacking joggers lately in the hiking trails. Not a joke.
We're getting very, very off topic. Now, we're here to solve this murder case, right? Well, as I already said, I was talking to Alcott when he said he was feeling sick. But as the party started, I found a couple things concerning. Blake and Vin had a conversation about something, and Blake left the room, as we already know. But then Sylvan and Avery, as they said, wandered upon the body, but they were acting very, very shifty. And I swore I saw one of them hand something to the other. It kind of looked like a vial of some sort, maybe a poison, as well we know that Alcott was poisoned. But I caught that in my peripheral, and I hate that I did not see it.
I don't know what you're on, but I did not receive or hand Avery anything. We were just talking. A normal conversation. We do that on the daily.
Didn't you say, I know that you said earlier, one of you said something about the knife, and then that you both had it. It could be that, but that would go against your case, and you said you didn't hand anything to the other. So,
When the murder happened, and I pulled the knife from Vincent, I passed it to someone, and that was Sil. So that's the only time we passed anything to each other. I mean, we're not like drug dealers or anything.
Yeah. Before the party started, we didn't pass anything to each other. We were just talking.
Let's just put everything in perspective really quick. So, we know that I'm certain that someone was in the dining hall, the conservatory, and the billiard hall during the time that Vincent must have been stabbed. Whoever was inside of those rooms could not be the killer if Vincent was attacked in the study. I also saw Blake and Ben, who did have a quick chat, not far away from the bar. The suspects who were at the club before the party were the only people who could have gotten access to the poison in time to poison him. So, if a suspect entered a room that was known to have a poison display after the party started, it would have been too late to put the poison in his drink. So, it had to be one of our 4, Blake, Ben, Avery, or Sylvan.
Emerald, so you mentioned that Ven and Blake were having a conversation together, right? So, that's actually kind of interesting. Because I saw Ven speaking to Vincent Archibald during the time that was leading up to his murder, and they seem to be they seem to be getting along pretty well, honestly. But there was also a third person in that conversation, and I couldn't remember who it was. I turned away to speak to someone real quick, and so I didn't really get to see how Vincent got into the study where he was murdered. But like, I think it was really weird that Vincent and Ven had that conversation, and maybe it was Blake that was that third person I cannot remember. And about and something else. About 3 minutes after the party started, I saw Vincent stumble back into the war room from the study, and he collapsed on the floor, and that was like not too far away from the foyer's entryway. And I saw Avery rush over to him across the room and to check his vitals. And here's one last thing, and I think this one's kind of the strangest, actually. I turned to check on Alcott, but I mean, he was obviously gone. And I checked for a pulse on Alcott's forearm, but I saw a weird tattoo of a snake that he never seemed to have before, and I think that's pretty weird because he's not the type of guy to have a tattoo.
Yeah, I noticed that tattoo too, right on his arm. I think it means something deeper. I'm not sure yet though.
Didn't you already tell us that you did know something deeper about murder?
I assumed that he was a part of the dark cloud. I'm not sure, but he could have had a justified kill.
Okay, I felt like saying this, so about the tattoos. So my granduncle, if you don't know him, Charles Wayne Bunce, he had the exact same one on his forearm. To be honest, I'm a little bit curious to what it means exactly.
Well, we know that only four people had access to the poison, and out of those 4 people, the only person that we know was in the kitchen was Blake.
I'm gonna be honest, I think it's Danny.
That kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, why would it be me?
You went to the kitchen, confirmed, you said that. And then you went to the bar. And then you also have the best motive since you were closest with only one of the members of the club. You could be acting on his accord to kill both men. So he has sole ownership along with you.
I did not go to the bar. I went to the kitchen to cut some oranges, like I said. And then I went straight to the billiard room. And I stayed there. And I was in there until after everything had happened. So I was the last one to come to the war room after all the chaos had happened.
You mean after you murdered him and then like took the long route around?
Hold up, Danny. I actually do believe you have a reason, and I kind of mentioned this earlier. Is that like, you're a disgruntled employee, right? And we've all seen how Alcott and Vincent have treated you like every day. And honestly, I have reason to believe that, after so much bullying and harsh treatment, you would have a reason to kill him.
Well, just because, yes, they were mean to me, but just because they were does not mean I would want to kill anybody. I value my job and my position so much, and I really respected Xavier, and I would not do anything to jeopardize my position. I've worked hard for where I am today. So yes, they were treated me cruelly, but I wanted to put up with that so that I could maintain my position. I would not do that for murder.
Danny has a point. If every disgruntled employee killed their employer, I would have been dead about 1,000,000 years ago.
Well, I just want to reiterate, since I know some people are pointing their fingers at me again, that I popped into the kitchen like right at the beginning as soon as I was let into the room and everything was opened after the waiting period of time. So I was not in the kitchen when everything was going down. So I was in the kitchen, then I went to the war room just to get a cola, and then I went back into the dining hall. And that's when I saw that whoever was in the dining hall went to the conservatory, and I heard the scream, and then I left.
So we have another note from Jack out of the box. It says, I wish to prove my innocence, but it's far too much fun watching you struggle. Now that Mr. Cavendish is gone, I'm not afraid to reveal my identity. Do another puzzle to figure out who I am. Follow the rules to fill in the 8 yellow squares. Once you use a letter, mark it out. You can use it again unless it's given twice. It cannot be within 2 spaces of the same letter, moving diagonal, vertical, horizontal, or a combination of 2 movements. Then figure out what to do with the letters in the yellow boxes. Okay, so it says you use the letter bank in the gray box as the possible letters to go in each yellow square. Since there are 8 squares and more letters, you will logically only use 8 of them, and some letters will not be eligible. The same letter cannot be within 2 spaces away, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, or a combo. This means any space within 2 spaces away from the yellow square.
Yeah, that sounded really vague.
Okay, I think I understand. It's like a letter Sudoku, basically. It's
I don't know if any of you guys have ever played Sudoku. We played it at Harvard all the time. But basically it's like a number pattern and you can't have a repeat of the same numbers. So this is basically the same thing, but in letter formation, where you can't have two letters in two spaces away. So I think that we should start with the top left corner because that's going to be the easiest box to solve.
I think that one's O.
Also, I noticed that we cannot have any H's or A's because there's no yellow box that does not have an H or an A within 2 blocks of it. So like any of the yellow boxes, there's either an A 2 blocks away or there's an H 2 blocks away. So because they said it could be a combination of 2 movements. So I think we can cancel out any H's and any A's. There might be some others too.
The first box, we can't have K, I, U, S, C, W, M, or I think, does it, so if it's 2 boxes down and then 1 box over, does that count?
No, I think that also does count because you could do like diagonal.
But
So
if it's not like a direct diagonal, so if it's like 2 boxes down, 1 box
Well, you
over.
could move 1 down and then diagonal 1, and that would be 2 moves instead of going 1, 2, 3. Oh, you meant 1, 2, 3.
Like how a knight would move in chess.
How a knight would move. I can't remember how many spaces they moved, dearest.
Wow,
Disappointed, not surprised.
You obviously didn't play with the elite chess club at Harvard.
No, I played with the sub-elite chess club at Arizona State, okay? And we're all at the same party now, aren't we? Miss Murderer.
So I think S would not be possible because, I don't know, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like there's an S either adjacent or 2 blocks away for every yellow block.
I feel so stupid right now. Like, I'm so bad with these Sudoku things, so.
Once again, I don't know if
Is that possible at all?
I don't know if the S's count or if it counts if it's 1 block over and then 2 blocks up.
They say you can do a combination of the movements. So you could do like 1 down and then 1 diagonal. So like, for example, with let me see if there's, like, I know for the H's, I think there was one like that where if you went 1 diagonal and then 1 up. So I think that should, but I might have missed one.
Well, I can tell you right now, only 1 block will allow a W. And that is the one that is in the 1, 2, 3, 4th column and 1, 2, 3, 4th row coming from the left and down.
Austin, that would be within 2 boxes, so I don't think that the W can be there either. So I think that none of them can have a W.
Stupid.
Okay, Arizona State, whatever helps us sleep tonight.
I didn't even understand what you said. You should have gone to Diction State. Ayo.
It can't be I either for any of them.
Or U.
Yes, well, while you all were babbling, I think that I've narrowed it down to being the letters O, R, B, E, P, and D for this first box. Must be my 4 bachelors from Princeton University.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, you gave like literally like half the whole thing, so
And actually,
you narrowed it down.
M would be
You say the first box could be D or P.
What were you trying to say, Emerald? I couldn't hear you.
It couldn't be P or D.
Period, sis.
Okay, so now that we've narrowed down the letters, let's try and go through the boxes one by one.
I think I have narrowed down the letters. I put them in alphabetical order. So I think B, B, C, D, E, E, K, M, O, P. Correct me if I'm wrong.
What was that for?
All the letters that we haven't crossed out yet.
I have ORBEMBEPE.
For the first box, like what they could be?
No, just like in general, all the ones that can apply to any of them. Like we narrowed down the ones that can't be used at all.
So for the first box, would B be able to count? Since it's kind of just like one up and then one over is the nearest B.
So no, it's like one diagonal over. You can't use it.
I think it could be O for the first box. There might be another letter that works, but I know O would work.
Yeah, I agree with O.
Yeah, let's go with O.
Let's place it here, and then if it ends up not working, then we can go back and find another letter.
I personally follow Danny to the ends of the world, so let's go with O.
It could also be R because I don't think there's a single R in the chart, so R can stay open for any of them.
I was also thinking for that first box, I think E would work as well.
Did we already cross D off as one of our possible letters?
No, I don't. I thought we had D.
Because I think D is in like a center location where, for example, the bottom right, it's two like diagonal from that box, and then the top right, it's two diagonal from there. So I think there's no box that's more than 2 away from D.
Hey guys, I think I got, because I was just playing with it and I think I got it. I don't know if it's like 100% right, so y'all check me. For the first top left, I'm going by like how we read, that's how I'm calling them out that I got. For the first blank on the left side, I got O, and then for the next one on that same row, I got, or column, the horizontal, I got E, and then beside it, I put B. And then for going back to the left one
Actually, Avery,
because neither E nor B will work.
Right, you can't use it if it's down 1 and 2 over, or 1 down and 1 down. Yeah.
Well, I didn't go to college, so.
It's okay, honey.
It shows, sweetie. But R, I think maybe that would work. Just like you guessed with the letters that we're using.
I think that we should save R for last because R can go with any of them. So we have to find one that no other possibilities work with for R to go.
Okay, I was just trying to find like a placeholder or something that we could use
K
as
could
we
work
move
for
forward.
a lot of these, I think, as well.
I was thinking for that second box, M might possibly work.
I think for the P could only go in the top right box. So I think that one might have to be P.
Do y'all think C would work on the blank that's like directly below P, where we put P?
No, I don't think so because there's a. Oh.
No.
Yeah. Go S and then to C. So no.
Well, I was thinking both of those two on the 4th row might have to be B because so I've narrowed down the letters to O, R, B, E, M, B, E, and then P. So those are 8, and I think there are 8 boxes, and I think any of the other yellow boxes has a B nearby. So those two on the 4th row might have to both be B.
But if they're both B, is that?
No way, and they break their own rule.
I agree with what Danny said.
Yet again, Danny is spitting facts.
But I think Sylvan had a good point. If they're both B, then they're breaking their own rule. So then they each other.
Sorry. Oh my god. You go.
I wasn't saying anything important as per the norm. You go.
I think one of them is B, but I think it's the one closest to the right. Or no. The one
Oh no, B doesn't work for box number 3 if we're going by reading style. B doesn't work for box number 3 because there's a B that cancels it out.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the second row.
Sorry, I don't know what rows and columns. This horizontally, the second one. So I think that's where, yeah. And then the 4th column. Yeah, so.
Why? Education really kicking in.
What B are you talking about?
There's a B on the first row, the third column, that would cancel out the entire top row of yellow boxes.
Yeah, but Danny was talking about the fourth row. Harvard.
B that cancels that one out too. So, okay.
No.
When she goes to Harvard but doesn't understand rows and columns.
Wait, where's the B for the fourth row?
There's a B? Nothing. There is no one for the fourth row. That's what Danny said.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
nothing would cancel it out.
they're next to each other, right?
Harvard.
But I think it would be the one that's like to the left, like in the fourth one, because I'm worried about the B that's at the bottom right.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but also, like, I don't really know what you mean by you're worried about it, because it's not, like, gonna get closer.
You know, B's just freak me out, man.
Touché.
I'm just thinking though, so if we've narrowed it down to the 5 that I mentioned earlier, that includes 2 Bs. And if those 2 yellow boxes are the only places Bs can go, and they can't be next to each other, then I think we made a mistake somewhere.
I agree.
I have a theory. Y'all can like prove me wrong, but going left to right, and then like we would read O M P E B B M R.
The B can't go in that. The second B can't go there because there's a B in the bottom corner.
That would be far enough away.
No, because it's one move down, one move up.
If you go right, 1, 2, 3. The 5th column down, it's the 3rd yellow box for the B. Oh, I see which one you're talking about.
There's 2 Bs both in the bottom corners, so that doesn't work for any of the. It doesn't work for the bottom row of yellow boxes, and it also doesn't work for the second yellow box from the bottom.
Emerald, I think you were right about all that.
We could put K and E in there.
Well, maybe if we know the 8 letters and we just don't know where they go, maybe we can like put together the message. Wait a second. All of the letters, I think we just got a letter wrong, because all of the letters, if we put them in a different order, P, E, M, B, R, O, and then we just have a B instead of a K. So maybe we messed up and we put an extra B instead of a K, and it says Pembroke.
That's what it says.
Pembroke? Really?
You called?